Welcome to our Microsoft 365 Mastery Virtual Training session. Today we'll be considering test basics in MS Word, and we'll be guided by this agenda using the insertion point to add text, selecting text, delete text, copying and moving text, undo, repeat and redo, then symbols. If you are new to Microsoft Word, you will need to learn the basics of typing, editing, and organizing tests. Basic tasks include the ability to add, delete, and move text in your document, as well as how to cut, copy, and paste. Using the insertion point to add text. The insertion point is the blinking vertical line in your document. It indicates where you can enter text on the page. You can use the insertion point in a variety of ways. When a new blank document opens, the insertion point will appear in the top left corner of the page. If you want, you can begin typing from this location. I would just want to introduce the keyboard and the keys to us so that when I begin to make reference to setting of the keyboard's keys, you will be able to flow with me. So the points that I highlight with red, I just want to introduce them to us. The space bar and the arrow keys. The space bar and the arrow keys. So now let's move into using the insertion point to add text. So I'll launch my MS Word and enter into a blank document. Now as you can see that there is this blinking point at the left up or left top of the page. That is the insertion point, and it is expected that anywhere you see that blinking is where your text, any text you enter, will start from. So as it is blinking there, if I would want to enter into a text, I just go on typing on my keyboard. So you can see as I am typing, the blinking insertion point keeps moving as I'm typing, showing that this is where any text I would enter will come from. And as you can see, as I'm typing, you can see that after I finish typing a word, you will see that I introduce a space. What I use in introducing that space is the space bar key on your keyboard. So now there are other ways you can also do what? You can add the insertion point. You can manipulate what? The insertion point. First of all, let me introduce you to when it is a blank document. When a new blank document opens, the insertion point will appear in the top left corner of the page. So if you want, you can begin typing from there, like as I have done. Now, adding spaces. You use the space bar to add space after each word and in between words. Now, in getting into a new paragraph, because as I am typing, I am kind of creating a paragraph. If I want to create a new paragraph, I will click on what? Enter on my keyboard. When I click on enter, I will be able to now do what? Move on a new paragraph. And whatever text is captured in a paragraph is referred to as a block of text, meaning that a paragraph is a block of text that can be selected as a single block. I will show that to you. What it means. So another thing again I want to introduce us to in moving the insertion point, you can also use your arrow key to move the insertion point. If I click on the arrow key towards my left, it will be moving backward. And if I get to a point that I want to type on, I can move that arrow with the arrow key and it will what? I can type from there. So I can also use the right arrow key and I can also do what? Type from there. So the arrow key can also be used to move the insertion point. You can use the enter, you can use the space bar, you can use the arrow keys, both up and down, left and right. If I want to go up with the arrow key to continue, I can move the insertion point by pressing on the arrow key upward. And I can also do the same by pressing on the arrow key downward. So these are ways you can move the arrow key. And another way again is by using the shortcut. And what is the shortcut? The shortcut is by pressing on control plus the left arrow key. The left arrow key. When you press on that, it will move the insertion point in between words, not in between character. Now, toward the left. So if I click on Control L plus right, the right arrow key, it will move the insertion point in between words in the right direction. But if I just use only the arrow key, I will be able only to move the insertion point in between character, that is in between letters. But if I want to move it in between words, I will click on Control, then the arrow key, and you can see it is moving in between words. So you can use both the left arrow key, Control plus the left arrow key, Control plus the right arrow key. So that is another way of moving what? The insertion point. Selecting text. Before you can move or format text, you will need to select it. To do this, click and drag your mouse over the text. Then release the mouse. A highlighted box will appear over the selected text. When you select text or images in Word, a over toolbar with command shortcut will appear. If the toolbar does not appear at first, try hovering the mouse over the selection. So let's look at the practical briefly. Now, continuing from the document we were creating previously. Now, you click on, you left click, and as you drag over the section of the text you want to select, when you remove your hand, you will see that there is a kind of highlighted box showing over the text that has been created. And under it or above it, you will see a toolbox also alongside with the highlighted box, showing some features or tools or command that you can apply to the text. So now I have selected the text and it has highlighted. The next thing we want to do now is how to select multiple lines of text. Here we have how many lines? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. How do we select multiple line of text? You click, you left click, and you drag the mouse pointer until it covers the entire line that you want to select. Now, there is also a shortcut for doing that. And what is the shortcut? The shortcut is by clicking on Control plus A on your keyboard. So if I click on Control A, you can see that it has selected multiple line. So that is how you select multiple line in a document, multiple line in your document. But there are times whereby you want to select multiple line in a paragraph. So let's take for instance that we have this document in the same paragraph and we want to do what? Select multiple line of that document. So what do? Let me first of all create multiple line for the document. So you can see this is a paragraph, and you can also select multiple lines in a paragraph. How do you do that? You can click triple times. You click triple times on the paragraph and it will select all the lines of text in that paragraph. So if I click, look at what will happen. You can see it has selected multiple lines in a paragraph, but it does not select multiple lines in an entire document. If you want to select multiple lines in an entire document, you use Ctrl A, which I have selected now, or you can come to this point where you have the select option. You click on the arrow by the side and click on select all, and it will also select all. Or you can put your mouse at the front of the first line and drag it to the point you want it to be. So that is how you select what? Multiple lines in a keyboard. But there are times where you want to select just a single character. What do? Put your cursor at the beginning of that character and drag until you have selected it. So that's how to select character. If you want to select a word, you do the same. You put your blinking cursor at the front of the word and drag it to the point where the word ends. And that way you can do that is by double clicking on the word. It will select the entire word. So when I double click, you can see that it has selected the entire word. But there are times whereby you want to select an entire line. You can click the blinking cursor to the front of the line and drag it to the end of the line. But another way you can do that easily is by moving this blinking cursor out of that line, and as you are moving it out of the line toward the left, you will see that it gets to a point. Instead of showing the insertion point as the cursor icon, it will now change it to an arrow. Just observe as I'm moving, it will change into an arrow. Are you seeing it? At that point where it changes it to an arrow, if you click, it will select the entire line. So at the point where it changes into an arrow, when you click, it will select what? The entire line. There are times also whereby you want to select multiple words in a line, not actually the entire line. What do? You put the cursor at the beginning of that line where those words are, and then you enter the shortcut. You type on Control plus Shift, then Control plus Shift, and then plus any of the arrow key, whether left or right. You click on any of them depending on the direction you want the word to be selected towards. So that's what I want to do now. So I have put my blinking cursor at the front of the line and I want to select the word "the boy is here." So I click on Control plus Shift and I move it on the right direction using the right arrow. You can see that it is selecting what? The word in the line is selecting word by word. So also if I come and I want to move in the backward direction, I can also select word by word by clicking on Control Shift and then the left arrow. So that is another way of what? Of selecting. So that is the ways you can select words in your Microsoft Word. You can either select a character, you can select also a word, you can select a line, you can select an entire paragraph, you can select an entire document. So these are the way you can go about it. Deleting text. There are several ways to delete or remove text in your Word document. To delete text to the left of the insertion point, press the backspace key on your keyboard. To delete text to the right of the insertion point, press the delete key on your keyboard. Select the text you want to remove, then press the delete key. If you select text and start typing, the selected text will automatically be deleted and replaced with the new text that you are typing. So let me show you practically. So now look at this document. If I want to delete toward the left side of what? The insertion point. What do? I click on what? Backspace. So this is my insertion point. Clicking there. I want to delete toward the left. So I will click on backspace and it will delete toward what? It will delete toward the left. Now, if I want to delete towards the right of my insertion point, I will use what? The delete key on my keyboard. You can see that it is what? Deleting towards the right. Now, if I want to delete or I want to remove an entire word, by selecting that word like this, if I click on whether delete or if I click on backspace, it will automatically delete that word. And then if I want to type a body of text, if I want to type a body of text and I want to put it in a particular location, I'm going to select this text now and copy it. See, I want to type this particular text in this particular location where you have this. All I have to do is when I select this text, by the time I paste it, it will automatically delete that text and replace it with the one that I just entered. So these are the various ways that you can do what? Remove or delete text from a document. Copying and moving text. Word allows you to copy text that's already in your document and paste it in other places, which can save you a lot of time and effort. If you want to move text around in your document, you can cut and paste or drag and drop. Now let's look at how to do what? Copy and paste. So take for instance, we have this document. Before you can copy a word or group of words in a particular document, you need to first of all select it. So I will select these words, this entire paragraph that I want to copy. What do? After I select the text I want to copy, I will click on the copy command in the home tab. If you look at this place here where you have on the clipboard, you will see this is paste, this is cut, and this is what? Copy. I will then click on copy there, or I can click the shortcut. The shortcut is Ctrl C. The shortcut is Ctrl C. So when I have done that, I will now move my insertion point to where I want to paste it. So I move my insertion point here. This is where I want to paste it. So I can do what? I can go to the clipboard and click on paste, or I can use the shortcut Ctrl V. So you can see, for you to paste, for you to copy, you can use Ctrl plus C. This one is for what? It's for copy. And then if I want to paste, I can use Ctrl plus V, and this is for what? Paste. So that is how you go about that. So if I want to cut, Cutting means when I copy, it leaves the original text where it was. But when I cut, it removes the original text from where it was. So by that, it means that I'm moving the original text by applying the cut function. So take for instance, I want to cut this document from here. So I first of all select it, and then I come to this scissors tool here. Is the same thing as cut. I click on it and it will cut that document. Then I can move it to where I want to paste it by clicking on what? The paste command here, and it has pasted. So cut will remove the particular text from where it used to be. So you can also use the shortcut, which is Ctrl X. So if I select this and I click on Ctrl X, I can also take it to where I want to paste it. And I can click on what? Ctrl V. So you can see that it has what? It has pasted. So that is how you use what? The cut and what? Paste option or command in your Word editing and document creation. Also, as a way of moving text, you can also use the drag and drop method to move your text. How do you do that? You select the text that you want to move. Let's assume I want to move this Ctrl C text from this place. I want to move it to where we have Ctrl V. How do I do? See, I have what? Selected it. What do? I left click and drag. I drag to where I want it to be. And then as soon as I remove my hand, it is what? It will be pasted there. So that's another way of moving your text to another location or where you want it to be. Undo, repeat, and redo. Let's say you are working on a document and accidentally delete some text. Fortunately, you won't have to retype everything you just deleted. Word allows you to undo your most recent action when you make a mistake like this. To do this, locate and select undo command on the quick access toolbar. You can also press Ctrl Z on your keyboard. You can continue using this command to undo multiple changes in a row. So let me show you how this is done. So assuming that I'm working on this document and I mistakenly deleted Ctrl left and I didn't want to do that, what do? This is the quick access bar. You can see at the top here, undo. When I click on it, it will do what? As I continue to click on it, it will restore the document again back to the way it was. And then there is also a shortcut. So let's assume that I deleted it. I can use Ctrl Z to restore it back. I don't need to go ahead and type again. Now, talking about the redo. Close to in the quick access bar, these two arrows, one is undo, which is this is redo. What does redo do? Redo allows you to be able to redo what you undo. So take for instance, actually I want to delete Ctrl A. So after deleting Ctrl A, I now felt that, oh, I'm not supposed to delete Ctrl A. I was actually supposed to leave it. What do? I click on Ctrl Z, which is what? Ctrl Z will do what? Restore it back. But if I then discover that actually I should delete it, I can go back and redo it by doing what? Clicking on Ctrl Y, or I click on this arrow on my what? Quick access bar. So when I click on it, you can see that what? It is redoing it back to the way it used to be. So that is the function of what? Your undo and redo. Now I want to talk about one final tool on the quick access bar or quick access toolbar. It is the repeat tool. The repeat tool. Now the repeat tool helps to repeat any action you just carried out. So the immediate action you just carried out, the repeat tool helps you to repeat it. So let me show you an example. So take for instance, I want to create a new blank document and I click on Ctrl N on my keyboard. You can see this is the blank document created, document 6. If I want other new blank document to be created, since the action I just carried out is creating a new document, if I come to this repeat, this is the repeat tool. When I click on it, it's going to create a new blank document, which is what? Document 7. If I click on it again, it's going to create another one, document 8, because that is the action I just carried out. So take for instance, the actions I just carried out, the immediate action I just carried out is what? I type D. If I click on the repeat, it will what? It will repeat the text I just typed. So just hold on, I'm trying to fix this out. So if I come around and click, you can see that it is repeating the action I just carried out. So that is the function of what? The repeat tool. Symbols. If you need to insert an unusual character that is not found on your keyboard, such as a copyright character or trademark characters, you can usually find it within the symbol command. Now, how do you insert a symbol in your Word document? So let's assume now this is a Word document and I want to insert the symbol. The first thing you do is to place your insertion point. This is my insertion point now. But you need to place the insertion point where you want the symbol to appear. So let's assume now that this is the document and I want the symbol to appear just after what? this Control C copy line. So what do I do? After I finish clicking on the point I want the character to be, or the symbol to be inserted to, I will click on the insert. When I click on insert, then I will locate where you have symbols. If you look at the end here, you will see symbol. So when you click on it, you would be able to do what? See the list of symbols that are there. This is the copyright symbol, this is the trademark symbols. But if the symbol you are looking for is not here, you can click on the more symbols and it will bring out an entire interface that carries all possible symbols that you may want to use. So let's assume it is this you want to use. When I click on it and I click insert, it is now going to show on my document. You can see now that this symbol is already showing here. So that is how you do what? You insert symbols into your document.